Years ago, I read Men and Dreams in the Dhauladhar by Kochery Shibu. I really liked that book, so obviously, I was thrilled when the author reached out to me regarding its sequel. I instantly said yes to reading the book and bringing its review to my viewers. So, in this video, I'm going to do just that. The book's name is Amongst the Believers, which is an interesting tale combining international politics, travel, espionage, terrorism, and more. The book is set in the time when America is pulling out of Afghanistan and Taliban is taking over. Around the same time, our characters have just finished their stories from Men and Dreams in the Dhauladhar book and are moving forward with their different lives. Mind you, this time span is quite long. There's discussion about the terror attack in Mumbai, then this Afghanistan thing, and the story goes on till Russia Ukraine war in this book. Just like Men and Dreams in the Dhauladhar, it follows three main characters: Khusru, Nand, and Rekha. Now, Khusru is a terrorist on the run because he had a falling out with his handlers and is now trying to just stay safe. Just in the beginning of the book, he has a narrow escape from the Indian authorities and crosses borders into Pakistan. In this new book, he ends up traveling through various parts of Pakistan, gets involved in something even bigger, and continues traveling across several countries several times. So there's definitely a lot of travel in this book. Now, Rekha is a doctor and a dancer, and she is in love with Khusru from the previous story. She is now trying to live her life and constantly wondering if Khusru is alive or dead, but now she gets married to a different man. She has kids, but her life remains of a doctor and a dancer. Eventually, in the story, she's kidnapped and ends up as a sex slave in Afghanistan. Our third character, Nand, is accused of a murder and is given no choice but to join RAW to help the Indian government. Honestly, all of this and a lot more about this story is on the back cover of the book, and I think it gives away way too much. Way more than it should have. Like Rekha getting kidnapped, it happens in the middle of the book. And, you know, I feel like that was crucial information that shouldn't have been shared in the blurb of the book. I hate when blurbs of the book just give away too much of the story. Anyway, keeping that aside, let's talk about this book's plot, characters, writing style, the usual stuff, okay? So, the plot and the pace. The plot is basically about these three characters, all with their own personal and professional journeys, and how these storylines cross one another, and if they even do. I think the only best way to describe it is it's a big travelogue of people traveling across the war torn, terrorism infested areas. And really, these people are just trying to stay safe or trying to make something happen or just like get something. Of course, there are reasons behind why they're doing what they're doing or why they have to do what they have to do. So, yeah, that makes up the plot of this book. There's a lot of good action, travel, and detail in this book. Action, I think that's one of the strongest points of this author's writing. As an example, there's a scene where Khusru uses hairpins like an improvised dagger, and that just instantly gave me John Wick vibes. And just how the author describes the action scenes throughout the book, I like that a lot. I feel like I had mentioned that even for the last book, and that's really the author's superpower. Detail, I think, is his biggest superpower actually. Every single page of this book oozes out exceptional hard work of the author, the understanding of different countries and things, and the story. Minute details that you wouldn't even think of while reading a novel, the author has taken care of all of that. For example, just something simple and very nuanced, like Nun's Hindi being retrained to add Urdu words to make his cover more believable. All of that is very impressive and not seen that often in Indian books. Now, this gives a very rich flavor to the book. I could learn and observe so much about people from different countries, different backgrounds because of the pages of this book. The only other Indian author that I can think of who goes in so much depth is Ashwin Sagi. So, this was truly impressive, but this I feel like is also a double-edged sword because this much detail also slowed down the book too much, in my opinion, and often just like took away from the plot, the story, and even the characters. I just didn't like how big acts like someone getting blown to bits is literally explained in two, three lines. No drama, no slowing down, just moving at the same pace throughout the book, no matter who dies, who gets shot, and what happens. It's kind of like good and bad, you know. Good because due to this, you don't see things coming, but it's bad because there's no build up for anything and everything. For example, Khusru gets really hurt at the later end of the book, and like, are you serious about giving me two lines about it? Are you kidding me? Another example, when Rekha is kidnapped, there's a scene when they are in a cave and the roof has water seepage and that roof collapses. Now, like, it might be a tiny spoiler, it's not a big part of the book, so I feel like I'm comfortable giving that away without having you hate me. But I mean, like, that scene could have been so exceptional, but it just got buried under all the detail, all the unnecessary detail. Because of this, the thrill factor of this story fell flat, in my opinion. One thing keeps happening after the other. There's no time to take in the big stuff, no focus or development of important things, even interesting things. For example, at one point, this government guy, Rajiv Menon, goes to Rekha and mentions that ISI is looking for Khusru in India. Khusru has something they want desperately. It's so interesting and important, I think, and yet it's like two lines in the, like, hidden in the whole page. So unless you are reading this super carefully, you will miss everything of interest. There's also a lot of travel in this story, multiple travels across different countries actually, but it gets too much. At one point, I really said this out loud that around the world in 80 days chal rahi hai kya? Because these characters are just taking one trip after another for sometimes random reasons. Sometimes I felt like they were just traveling even when they didn't need to travel. Don't get me wrong, I really liked the travel part of the book. In fact, that's one of my favorite parts of the book. It just read like a travelogue, and I just like was really into that feeling and into the whole thing. But I feel like it was still overdone. Seriously, it felt like Khusru and Miriam, especially, they had like a wanderlust. Just to give you an example, at one point, the book reads like they landed at Athens, took another flight to Brussels. They landed in Brussels early in the morning. Okay, these are back to back three lines. Was that unnecessary? I don't need the info about their layovers. I feel like reducing that unnecessary detail would have made this book crisp and fast paced and more thrilling. And honestly, even with this much detail, I feel like there were some things that were just weird and aren't explained very well via any of the three things: plot, characters, writing style. For example, this reporter starts helping Rekha regarding finding out what happened to Khusru. Like, why? Why are you helping this girl? What's your angle with this? I don't like things happening randomly or without any reason. Like, I didn't see this reporter making some sort of connection with Rekha, due to which this woman is calling him and asking him about info, and he's giving all of this info. Like, why? And not just this, so many things in this plot felt staged or too convenient. Like Khusru and Miriam, they're constantly moving and apparently in danger, but there's always people helping them, passports ready, next steps ready, and just a few hiccups here and there, which are like big issues, but it's just too convenient. Anyway, moving on to the characters. Khusru plays the role of the terrorist on the run well. Very less emotions depicted, very quick in action, powerful, vigilant, respectful to women, saves a woman named Miriam who becomes sort of like a central character in the book, at least for Khusru's end of the story. And I really liked Miriam as well. Now, Nand, I feel like he had a good role, played it well, but personally, I just didn't feel much for him. Rekha, now, she is my least favorite character in this book, and mainly because of how she was written. As a character, she's just disconnected with her kid. She does love terrorists, she has justified her love for Khusru for sure. And as she's kidnapped and assaulted by her kidnappers multiple times, it's evident, at least to me as a reader, that she has Stockholm syndrome. Here, I do want to put out a trigger warning for rape and violence. Speaking more of Rekha, she goes through so much, and neither she nor you as a reader feel that pain for her. It should have like devastated me, and yet she still remains this 2D character to me, and I feel bad about that, you know. You don't feel her soul, her pain, and her personality in the book. The whole treatment to this character, in my opinion, wasn't fair. As much detail that the author has put into like the travel stuff, if the author had done that in characterization of Rekha, it would have been so much better. And what's sad is that the story and writing just didn't justify any of the atrocities and actions of these women or towards these women, as if their feelings, their life wasn't important enough. So yeah, didn't like that. Anyway, on the lighter side, one another pet peeve I have from Rekha as a character is like her scenes in the book had this phrase very often, which was like the choreographer in her woke up, and it's repeated so many times. Like I counted, really, I counted from page 72 to 86 of the book. The choreographer in her woke up 4 times, and then even more times throughout the book. Like why? I get that she is a choreographer, but that doesn't need to wake up many times and be repeated. Now, moving on to the writing style. The flow of the writing in this book is way better than what I remember from the first book. And mind you, I really liked the first book. I enjoyed it very much. This one, I feel like it has even more smoother flow, smoother writing, and there's really a nice and unique character to the language that has been used in this book. The scenes are very long, but the writing has held them together very well. Each chapter in the book ends with a poetic quote or dialogue from a character, which I felt like was a very nice touch as well. Overall, according to me, Amongst the Believers is a good sequel to Men and Dreams in the Dauladar. It covers a lot of area geographically and subject wise as well. It's really pleasant to dive into that much of detail, and I'm glad I read such a book, a crisper, shorter book with more weightage and words for important events in the story, important to the characters and the plot, would have been an even better book. Still, it was worth exploring this book, and I really enjoyed reading it. Overall, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. If you have read this book, let me know what you think about it. And if you haven't read this one, first go and check Men and Dreams in the Dhauladhar. I have done a full review of that book as well on this channel. I'll link it down below, and then check out this book for sure. Even the cover of this book, I really want to like bring your attention to it. It's really interesting. It kind of gives you a big hint about like what's in the book. So all of this is super interesting. So, if after watching this review you want to pick it up, just check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is Manpi signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.